A 62% win rate, 60 total trades, a clean upwards equity curve, and a mechanical 1-to-3 risk-to-reward ratio per trade. These are the statistics that we got when we recently backtested EURUSD over the 2022 price action using my simple 5-step mechanical 1-to-3 model. Now, in today's video, we're going to be backtesting EURUSD over the 2023 price action instead. I'm going to be walking through the full rule set behind the strategy, and we're going to be doing around 40 minutes or so worth of backtesting to show you guys as many trade examples as possible and how this system works in the market. So let's not waste any more time. Let's head right over to the charts and let's get straight into the backtesting. All right, guys, so welcome to today's backtesting session. So as always, starting off on daily time frame, working our way down. Let's actually zoom out to the weekly time frame here to see if what the weekly narrative is. So the first thing I've noticed here, right, is that we've kind of had price come down and create a weekly change of character just here, and it has now pulled all the way back up into the extreme and is currently reacting from this weekly supply zone. You can see that there, very clean weekly supply zone, which created imbalance. Obviously just a very clear supply zone. So what I'm thinking with this, and one of the things I like to emphasize to the guys inside VIP, is that even when price comes into these higher time frame supplier demand zones, right, if it's not going to completely reverse, it doesn't really matter, because we can still look to capitalize on a reaction from this area if price is going to do something like this and eventually push higher. So let's break this down to some of the lower time frames. In terms of the daily structure, obviously we had this kind of bullish structure leading up into the supply. So in terms of daily structure, this is our current breaker structure right here, just like mapping that on. But we could definitely see a pullback. You can see the pullback kind of starting here. So if we go down hourly time frame, you've already seen price start to shift bearish. You can see once it came into this supply, we had price create a lower low. That's our initial change of character. We've now had price kind of develop a bit more and form some more structure. So what I'm kind of thinking with this, if we go back to daily time frame, is that if we're going to see sells, we could probably see sells to at least the daily demand. So even if we're wrong about this and price is going to continue higher, we could still look to capitalize on some sells down into that daily demand. So yeah, first point of interest going into the session. Let me play price a bit forward first. So at the moment, it would probably be this area of hourly supply. I was going to also say this one up here, but I don't think it's likely price pulls all the way back up there anymore. Let me also just mark on the session indicator. So as you guys know, I live in the UK, so I avoid trading the Asian session. Asian session on EU and GU is typically just very range bound anyway. So yeah, let's see if price can push up a little bit. No, it doesn't look like it wants to come back to that region. So now what I would do is just look for a new point of interest instead. Doesn't look like it wants to respect that daily demand either. So what I would look for now is clearly not respected this daily demand. You can see it didn't react to it. So what I would look for instead is for price to gravitate towards the next liquidity just here. I'm going to mark that on because this is also a potential area where we could see buys. As before, guys, focusing on liquidity is massive in terms of, you know, being able to capitalize on moves, because even if, for example, like I said with the supply, even if we don't capitalize on a complete buy back to the previous highs, you can still see price react to this level, which we can capitalize on using my lower time frame entry model, which I'll explain once we get to it. So yeah, at the moment, just looking for more sells down into that liquidity level. There's not really a clear point of interest here unless price wants to retrace all the way back up. Let's just see how it develops. We're not really seeing any pullbacks here, so it's quite difficult to trade. Maybe if we can see this liquidity taken out. Obviously, in a situation like this, you don't really anticipate a bigger retracement, so you kind of just want to trade this more substructure that price has formed. So yeah, let's see if it reacts to this liquidity. Right, so that's been taken out. I also want to be mindful that we have like another area just up here, so maybe price wants to take that out. Has kind of tapped into this demand as well. So yeah, let's see how it reacts to this. If it doesn't react to this one, we also have this kind of... Actually, I would use this supply as my next point of interest if this liquidity doesn't react. Asia high has been taken out, so that's a nice extra confluence as well. All right, price came up into the supply. Right, so it hasn't respected the supply, it's kind of just continued up. But what we have kind of seen now is price take out the liquidity from this high. So in a case like this, right, where price has kind of... Notice how here it's kind of stopped before sweeping that liquidity. In a case like this, I would look at... This is kind of like a prime opportunity to see this as a sweep rather than as a change of character and look for some sells down. So... yeah, let's have a look how it develops here. If it comes a bit higher, we kind of have this area to the left as well. But yeah, let's see how this develops. If we get a change of character here on M5, M5 being my entry time frame, I'll look to enter. Yeah, so we have actually had our entry model. So we've had our M5 change of character. Price has created some liquidity below an area of imbalanced supply. Let me just take a look at 15. Not really too keen on this, to be honest. It is technically valid though. I'm trading this purely mechanically, so let's set a limit here. All of my trades are mechanical 1 to 3 as well. So I'm going to target a 1 to 3 risk to reward. And essentially all I'm looking for with the entries is once price taps into our POI or sweeps our liquidity level is an M5 change of character. Then I'm looking for a retracement into a premium or discount. Ideally with some liquidity taken out, as you can see in this case. In this case, we also had a nice supply zone. And I also need to see some imbalance created as well. So let's see if this area holds. We've been tagged in now. Ideally, we see this low broken. Yeah, nice. There we go. So area held, and we've had that change of character to the downside. We've now had another breaker structure as well. So what I would do here is look to trade this internal trend. It's internal, obviously, because this is the main trend low, so it's not the main structure. So I would look to trade this down into that next liquidity level. So if we can see a pullback here, we can look for another selling opportunity. But yeah, let's see if price does want to pull back or whether it wants to go straight for the lows. Nope, went straight for the lows. So this is no longer valid. Price has now wicked out that daily liquidity level. So this is a great opportunity to look for some buys actually. So we've had this daily liquidity level taken. You can see that clear wick rejection as well. Just here, very clear momentum. If we jump over to M5, still bearish at the moment. So let's play price on a bit. All right, so you can see there price has clearly shifted bullish now. I want to be a bit careful though, because it has, like, based on how this is shaping up, you could view this as a change of character, but you could also just view it as a sweep, right? If price is going to continue lower, this would be the ideal place where that would happen. But yeah, I want to also be a bit careful because it's a bit conflicting here. It's reacted from that weekly supply zone, which caused a change of character. So this could be the lower high that puts in a new low and takes these lows. Or it could just be, you know, a retracement on daily time frame for more buys. So it's a bit conflicting. I want to be a bit more reactive to price here rather than trying to predict it. Let's see if it came into this supply zone just above the liquidity as well. So yeah, let's jump over to the M5. Let's see how it reacts to this. Thing with this is that there's no structure for a change of character. Unless it breaks this low right here. But again, this is also a bit conflicting because you could say that this was a sweep for higher prices because price has technically created like a change of character here. I'm actually more so looking for sells here. The reason being, I don't like how this wick has formed, right? It looks a bit too obvious. We've had a sweep of this opposing liquidity, tap into the supply, and price has now created a shift to the downside. So I'm actually going to set a limit on this area. It's very conflicting. Like, you could say this was a change of character and then this was a sweep for some sells. What I'm actually going to do here, if we jump over to the M5, you can see that we've had an M5 change of character just here. So I actually might look for a buy. For the entry on the buys, I would want a retracement into the imbalance, this region here. Rather than over refine into the demand zones, I enter on the whole imbalance. So if we do that, ideally I want to be out of this trade before this kind of top supply zone. I might refine the entry a little bit, actually. Just place it a little bit lower. So yeah, let's see how this goes. All right, so we have been tagged in. Ideally, this region holds. No, it doesn't look like it will. Yeah, stop loss hit on that one. That's fine. It was a completely valid trade. Let's fast forward Asia session. And let's see. I'm more so going towards that bearish narrative now, to be honest. Two sorts of areas I would look at. We have this area of supply. And we also have... This one was not in balance, but it is like a previous supply. So maybe if we can see price tap into one of these levels, what I would do here now, I would want another confirmation just because it's not, you know, it's not the clearest. To be honest. Again, I'm trying to be reactive to price here because you could say that this was a change of character. Price has come into this area of hourly demand. Asia low has been swept in London open. And we have had a 5-minute change of character. So what I'm thinking here is let's react to price. I'm going to look for a buy-in opportunity just here up into one of these two supply zones. And how I would personally manage this is if it does present a change of character in this area, I'll close this trade early. But I'm thinking we could at least see buys up to Asia high if it taps us in. Which, no, it doesn't look like it's pulling back for us there. Slightly annoying. So yeah, let's see if one of these two areas hold. It still looks very kind of like this move up was very efficient and corrective. So let's see how it reacts to this area of supply. Yeah, there we go. So we've started to see price break lower from the area of supply. In terms of entries, we have this area, which is the supply that caused the low to break. So if we enter here, I want to have a bit of a bigger stop on this one just to... Sometimes EURUSD likes to re-grab the highs or the lows. So let's set this limit here. See if it retraces. Still valid at the moment. I'm going to keep the limit. No, it doesn't look like it wants to retrace for us. That's annoying. Area of supply held to the analysis was great, but wasn't really an entry there for me. So yeah, now that this high has held, it does seem like price wants to continue lower. So yeah, what I'm thinking with this, like we've seen price push down and gravitate towards this low, but it hasn't yet been taken out. So looking for some shorts down into that previous low. In terms of actual POIs, maybe if it can take out Asia high. It's quite a messy consolidation this though. Yeah, there you go. So we've had another break of structure there. Okay, so I would look for two things here. First one, we've seen a sweep of this liquidity level. Next POI would be this liquidity level up here, and then thirdly, we would have this high as well. You can see there's like a nice supply zone resting above this one. So yeah, a bit of a messy consolidation phase, but this is what I would look at. to be a bit careful with this one, to be honest. I'm not liking the look of it. Yeah, price coming higher. Next level, let's see. Still quite bullish here. I didn't want to sell this just yet. So fast forward the Asian session. Yeah, so it's come back into this supply that we were selling from previously. It's taken out some previous liquidity into it. One of the things that I always try to emphasize to the guys inside VIP is that when you see these areas of liquidity or areas of supply swept, that's kind of when you want to be laser focused and looking for an entry, because typically price will react to the top of these areas of higher time frames of supply and demand. So if it sweeps the top of them, for example, in this case, we've also had it come into this area of supply here, and Asia high has just been taken out in London. So let's see if we can catch some sales here. If price presents an entry. Yep, there we go. So we've had price starting to break lower. This one is not quite valid for me because there's no imbalance. I need to see price create some imbalance to enter. Yeah, so based on how it's pushed up here, I would probably now at least want the high to be regrabbed. Yeah, something like that. So let's regrab that high. Again, quite messy. It's in this consolidation, but let's have a look if we can get an entry here. All right, there's that volume coming in. This was probably some news event. And once again, guys, just to re-emphasize that point, notice how here it did sweep that supply zone. Didn't respect it, but the supply zone got taken out, and that's where we saw price react from this previous liquidity. So, yeah, based on this volume, it is looking good for some more sells. If I was looking for more sells, I would want a bit of a retracement first, maybe into like this kind of area, plus another confirmation. Right, there we go. Price is wicked up into it. M5, nothing really there. There's no change of character or anything. Yeah, this is looking good. So price is in this supply zone. It's wicked out the first touch. We've had our M5 change of character. With a case like this, because it's created all of this imbalance, all I would want to see is a smaller retracement into this region. Place the order and see if it retraces. All right, cool. We're in. Let's have a look. No, little loss on that one. Very messy conditions to start off this year, to be honest. Still within this supply zone. I'm still confident in sales from here. I'm going to look for a re-entry after Asia. So if price can break this low, I'm going to get back in. Right, so we've had our change of character there. In terms of entries on this one, we have this area of supply. If price starts to pull back, yep, there we go. Bit of a bigger stop on this one. All right, there we go. So the stop loss placement on that one, I wanted to have it, I saw that there was this area of supply. I wanted to have it a bit above that to account for that possibility which just happened, which was price basically wicking out our first region. And yeah, there we go. So TP hit on that one. Very nice. We're now up 4% for the session, despite these very choppy conditions to start off the year. This, if we look on higher time frame, it's just a bit of a mess, to be honest. Not really ideal. But yeah, so we've had a wick out of that high. Price has held this area of supply. Next point of interest, maybe if we can see a retracement up into this region. Yeah, there we go. It did retrace up into it. Didn't hold the supply, but it has kind of wicked out. So again, this is where you want to be laser focused and looking for an entry, because price typically will react to the top of these areas of higher time frame supply and demand. Yeah, there we go. So this is a perfect entry. We've had change of character after the liquidity was swept. We have this area of imbalance up here. If price can retrace into this area, I'm in the trade. I'm going to have a bit of a bigger stop. Wants a 3 mechanical TP. Doesn't seem like it wants to retrace. Obviously, if this low breaks, this trade is now invalid for a limit order. No, so it reacted from that one instead. That's annoying. I'm going to cancel this limit, but great analysis regardless. So let's see. This is just like a complete mess, so there's not really anything high probability here. One thing I personally like to do is just wait for only high probability setups. If there's nothing high probability, I just won't trade. So we've now had, if we're following this structure down, this was the change of character after the lows, the highs got taken out. Price has now created a new breaker structure, so I'm essentially just looking for it to gravitate towards this previous low. Next point of interest. Let's fast forward Asia first. Yeah, I'm not really seeing anything here, to be honest. Yeah, there we go. So price broke that main low. Right. So seeing this as a new breaker structure. So just quickly zoom out to remind us where higher time frame is. All right, so higher time frame still seems quite bearish. Maybe price wants to gravitate back towards, you know, now that it has tapped into that weekly supply, we could very easily see it gravitate towards the opposing liquidity at these lows. But yeah, let's see, because it has kind of like, we've had a wick out of this daily liquidity. Now the low has been re-grabbed. So we could easily see maybe a push away from this level. This would be a riskier trade, but I'm actually going to look for some longs here. So what I'm thinking is that that daily liquidity was re-grabbed. We've now had a change of character. Price has created this clear imbalance. So like I said, bit of a riskier move, but I think we could at least see some longs to take out some of these previous highs. So yeah, let's set this trade. Nope, looks like price wants to come lower. Not looking for sells anymore. Only buys now. Sorry, only sells now. Still not really seeing a clear POI though, to be honest. Very messy price action. Right, so we've had price retrace. Want to be careful here because it could easily go back up to the supply up here maybe. But it has also just taken out, I would use this as a POI, like a clear liquidity level. Let's fast forward Asia, because obviously we don't trade it. Right, so Asia high taken out during London Open. We've had that clear shift to the downside. Just there. I'm not really keen on this bullish momentum. Actually, yeah, my bad. We should have entered that. We had a clear change of character plus imbalance. The entry should have been like this. That was just me overthinking it. Oh well, on to the next. Let's have a look. Higher time frame. So maybe we could see a regrab of these highs into this area of supply on hourly. Yep, something like that. So we've seen previous highs regrabbed into the area of supply. Let's have a look how this reacts after the Asian session. So So yeah, Asia high taken out during London Open. We've had a shift to the downside, but there's no imbalance yet, so it's not quite valid. There's no valid entry here. Very choppy price action to start this year off. Not really fan of any of this. Yeah, let's see how it reacts to this now that the high has been regrabbed into the supply. Right, there we go. We've had a clearer change of character now with some clear imbalance created. We've got an area of supply. All right, let's see how this goes. Let's set the limit. Stops a bit above and 1 to 3 TP. No, doesn't seem like it wants to pull back for us. Nope, so just went straight for the lows. Do have some clearer volume coming in now though. Next point of interest for me would be this area of supply. Let me just mark on as well. I want to be mindful of this liquidity level here. If this gets taken out, we could definitely see some buys, or maybe even you can see this area of demand just below. So I'm going to mark this on just because I want to be aware if that does get taken out. You can see here now as well, we do have quite a nice opportunity because there's nothing between where price is now and this previous low that would likely cause a reversal. There's no, like, we basically just have a clean run to that level because no liquidity is being taken out here. So let's have a look if we can get a retracement first. All right, nice. So price is in this supply zone now. Let's have a look for a potential entry. All right, so supply did not hold, but we have now seen the supply zone taken out, like the top of the supply zone, right? So this is where we could see that potential reaction. If not, maybe, like if not here, maybe we could see price take out this previous high again one more time. But yeah, let's have a look here. Still seems quite bullish at the moment. Yeah, so price looks to be heading towards that previous high. All right, next point of interest would be this liquidity. Right, there we go. So that's been taken out. This supply zone that it reacted from previously has also been taken out. There we go. You can see that very clear shift to the downside there with a lot of momentum coming in. So for this one, I wouldn't over refine the entry. I would just want to have it, you know, above this high here. You can see this is the last bit of liquidity before the imbalance. So I see a lot of people making the mistake of over refining to like this area. And most of the time, price is not going to pull back and tag that area perfectly. So what I like to do with my entries is just be a bit more like less precise with the entries, and this allows me to basically make my win rate higher because I'm not always going for sniper entries, and it also allows me to actually avoid missing a lot of trades. So let's see if this tags us in. No, it looks like it's missed us at the moment. I'm going to keep the limit because it's still valid at the moment. Alright, no, so I'm going to delete the limit now. That's annoying. Analysis played out perfectly, but price never came back. Actually, yeah, we should have been a bit more zoomed out. You can see price reacted to this area of supply instead. Okay, so we've had now another breaker structure right here. Next point of interest, let's zoom out real quick. Would probably be this area of supply on 4 hour, which is looking quite nice. And again, I wouldn't view this as a change of character, just because obviously when price pulls back on higher time frame, it's always going to take out some of this internal liquidity. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's a change of character. It could just be a sweep of liquidity for more downside, which in a downtrend is what you would expect more. Quite choppy here, not really seeing anything too clean. So it did react from that supply, but there was not really an entry there. Very kind of painful price action going into this year. It was very choppy and slow. Okay, so still looking for more sells down into this previous liquidity. Next point of interest would be let's have a look. Yeah, not really seeing anything too clean here. Yeah, what I was going to say, maybe if we can see a regrab of this previous high back into that 4-hour supply zone. Yeah, let's see if we get a nice reaction from here. Yep, so we've had a change of character there. We've got an area of imbalanced supply. Let's enter this. No, so this price action is so annoying, it doesn't want to pull back for us. I'm going to delete that limit now. Yeah, so analysis played out, but didn't pull back for an entry, annoyingly. Still looking to follow this bearish structure though, down into this liquidity down here, which still hasn't been taken out. Next point of interest, we've had this taken out. Maybe we can see some sells from here. What have we got on 4-hour? 4-hour, we have like a nice supply here. Maybe we can see price react to that. So it still seems quite bullish at the moment. Yeah, so obviously it didn't respect this area. So what I would look for now, you can see prices pushed up towards this liquidity, but it hasn't yet taken that liquidity out. So what I'm thinking here is, this is my point of interest for sells, but we could also maybe see some longs up into it. If we just fast forward Asia. Okay, no, so longs are invalid, but this sell has now become valid. You can see we've had that M5 change of character. We've got an area of supply just here. I am going to enter this trade. Cool, so this is what the trade looks like. Let's have a look. Yeah, very nice. There we go. So TP hit on that one. It did come a little bit higher, but that's fine because we had a smart stop loss placement. This was, I imagine, some sort of news. Right, so price has pushed down. We've seen, hasn't yet taken this low. So this is a nice opportunity, right? Because we've had very clear sell-off towards the liquidity, but it hasn't yet been taken out. So what we can look for here is some shorts down into it. Let's have a look. Maybe if we can see a sweep of one of these highs. Nope. So we've now seen another break of structure. Let's fast forward Asia. Yeah, nothing really there, to be honest. just keeps selling off, not really an entry. It has just taken out the daily liquidity though. Actually, my bad, not yet. It almost has. It's kind of formed these equal lows. All right, so now it's taken out that daily liquidity. So yeah, daily liquidity has been taken out. We've seen an M15 change of character. So what we could look for here, I'm thinking like if we're going to see lower prices, price is probably going to at least take out. Notice how this is the last bit of liquidity before you have this big imbalance. So I would keep an eye on this level, but I think we could also see some longs up into it if price can retrace. Maybe something like this from the area of demand. We've had Asia low taken in London as well. So yeah, let's see if we can get an entry confirmation here. No, so there's no structure here for an M5 confirmation. So I'm just going to play this forward. All right, so we've had now another break of structure, but this liquidity has not been taken out. So could still look for some more longs up into it. Maybe this area. Actually, this whole region here is the demand. So I didn't really respect the demand. It has taken out this though. So it's taken out some previous lows, stopped just before sweeping the liquidity level as well. So let's have a look how it reacts to this. All right, there we go. So we had one final grab of the lows. We've had a change of character. We've got an area of imbalanced demand. I'm going to look for some longs up into these highs. A bit of a bigger stop. There we go. So price swept the demand. This is another tip as well. Don't put the stop loss just below the demand because price will very often do something like this where it sweeps it as liquidity, then goes higher from there. So yeah, let's have a look. This is looking good so far. All right, so if I wasn't in this first position, I would also look for some more longs here. Reason for this, we've had Asia consolidate, London push down, sweep Asia low into this demand zone. And we've also seen price stop just before sweeping the highs. So keep in mind that this would only be valid if I wasn't in this initial trade. But if I wasn't, we could look for another entry here. All right, so no change of character, so it wasn't valid, but analysis is playing out. Yeah, there we go. So TP hit on that one. Very nice. Price has now also just taken out that liquidity we were looking at. Still is quite bullish though. I want to be mindful here because this could easily just be the reversal we were looking at, right? Because the daily liquidity has been taken out, which was essentially what we were looking at for the reversal. But yeah, let's see how it reacts to this liquidity. Obviously, if it starts to shift bearish from there, I'll look for shorts. Want to see something very clear though after Asia. All right, so maybe if we can see Asia high taken first. Yeah, there we go. Very clear move, as you guys can see. Asia taken out. Very clear change of character just here. Let's have a look. I don't want to over refine the entry, so entry will be on this whole region. Can see we've also had a nice 15-minute change of character, so it stops above the high. We'll go for a 1 to 3. Let's Let's see if it pulls back for us. I might also monitor for some potential longs here as well. Reason for this is because I'm kind of like hedging it here. So we've had this breaker structure on hourly. Price has retraced into the into a discount of that current hourly leg. We've seen a sweep of some previous lows back into this hourly demand. So maybe we could see some longs up into that area. Yep, there we go. So we've seen our change of character. Did go slightly below and re-grab the lows, but that's fine. And then in terms of an entry, going to enter on this area here. I want to have a bit of a smaller stop on this one just because I didn't want to target above that supply zone. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make the entry a bit more refined. No, it doesn't look like it wants to pull. Oh, there we go. Has pulled back. It's tapped into this area of demand that we had marked. It's taken some of these previous lows. Nice reaction so far as well. No, so sells are now invalid. Sorry, the buys are now invalid. Sells are still valid if price can come back up further. Damn, sells played out perfectly. That's slightly annoying on the buys because we just got stopped out a bit too early. If we just analyze that, you can see price came out into this extreme instead. Ideally, we would have had stops below this, but the risk to reward wasn't worth it in this case. So I thought maybe go for a refined entry. Doesn't matter though, we still made that back on the sells, plus a little bit more, so plus 2% more. Cool, so we've now had this next breaker structure. Price has just tapped into this daily demand zone though. If we get rid of this and then zoom out, you can see what we've seen now is this previous daily time frame low has been taken out into this area of daily demand. So again, what I'm thinking here is that even if we don't see a full reversal, we could still see price react before going lower. So I want to be mindful here that we could see some longs coming in. I want to see a clear change of character first though. Yeah, so something like that. We've had our 15-minute change of character. Is there an area on the M5 to enter from? Yeah, so we have this area of imbalanced demand. I'm going to take this whole region here. Set my limit. And have stops on it below this demand. I always like to have slightly bigger stops on counter trend trades or reversal trades, just to allow it a bit more breathing room. All right, let's see if it pulls back or not. Actually, what I'm going to do here, what I've just seen is that we've continued up, created some liquidity above this area of imbalanced demand instead. So based on how like corrective this is moving, I wouldn't expect it to pull all the way back down to that original region anymore. So I'm going to enter here instead. Slightly riskier, but let's have a look. Damn, slightly missed us. That's annoying, but trade played out perfectly as well. That's annoying, but let's look for another entry. Obviously, now that we've seen this, right, we can at least expect price to head for this opposing liquidity. Like, there's nothing really stopping it from getting there. I'm just going to get rid of some of these markings as well to clear things up a bit. Yeah, there we go. So looking for more longs up into at least this previous high here. It's quite impulsive at the moment, so maybe we don't see a pullback. if we do, I would look for something like this. Right, previous lows have been taken. Could maybe see it come into the demand itself, but I would also be happy to go from here if it presents an entry. There was no change of character there though, so it's quite difficult to trade that. Alright, so there we go. We've had a move lower. Didn't hold that first region, but it has tapped into this lower demand. We've obviously seen Asia low and this previous day low taken out as well. So let's have a look for an entry here. Again, there's no M5 change of character here though. There's just one impulsive move down, so it's going to be hard to trade. Yeah, so obviously it did, our analysis played out, but there was no entry there, annoyingly. Let's see if we can get more buys here from, I would at least want this previous low to go. Actually, maybe we could see buys from the demand itself. And the reason why this demand has now become valid is because we've got some liquidity resting above it, including the Asia low as well. So yeah, all of these lows have been taken out very correctively. Price has tapped into the demand. Let's see if we can get an entry. Yeah, there we go. So with a situation like this, right, we've had the demand itself swept, so we're likely to see a reaction here. I would be comfortable just entering market execution on this one because the risk reward is already worth it. Our stop loss is already 6 pips, so I didn't want to over refine to this area, for example. I just think it's a bit unrealistic to expect price to do something like that. So let's place the order. If it lets us do that. Market execution. Damn. So it went like half a pip away from TP and then stopped us out. That's slightly annoying. I would still consider longs from here though. Maybe now that we've had a regrab of that low. Let's see, is there a demand or anything? So yeah, what I'm currently seeing here is that this low got taken out. We had that initial reaction. The low has now been regrabbed in Asia. So maybe we could see another entry opportunity here. Let's have a look at the structure. This is still the Asian session though, so I'm going to fast forward it. Yeah, so there you can see, regrabbed at the low, creates another change of character. We have now this area to enter from. So I'm going to try the buys one more time from here. I think we were just slightly too early maybe. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Regrab of the low, and then we entered after another change of character. Price is continuing over to the upside. Has taken that high, but very clearly still bullish here. So not really interested in selling this yet. Next sell zone would be this area of supply up here. Maybe we could see a reaction from there. But in the meantime, looking for more longs up into it. Next POI, this area of demand that price has pulled back into. There we go. We've had a change of character. This is the Asian session though, so fast forward in this. Okay, so we had that change of character. Asia pushed down, it's holding this area of demand. I'm just going to enter market execution because we missed that initial tap. Ideally, we would have entered via a limit order on this area, but this is fine for me. Risk reward is still there. Nope, little loss on that one. Price wants to come lower. Next point of interest would be this low. The price is just taken out. Reason for that is because it's the last liquidity before this imbalance. If not, maybe... Yeah, so let's see if this area holds first. There's no structure here for an M5 change of character though. That's the only thing. Alright, so we have actually seen that change of character. Area of imbalance demand beneath some previous liquidity. Let's enter here. Yeah, there we go. Nice. So we had that change of character. We had some build-up of liquidity above the area of demand after that previous low got taken out. So very nice trade there. And yeah, there you go. So new breaker structure. But we have now seen price tap into this area of supply. So we could definitely see a retracement from here. And I would consider some sells if price starts to present them. It is very bullish though, actually looking on 4 hour. So I'd want to see something perfect for the sells here. Our next buy-in point of interest would be this demand. Price can pull back into it. There's no change of character or anything here though either, so I'm not really liking sells to be honest. Yeah, there we go. So we got a reaction, but there was no M5 change of character or anything. Next point of interest would be this previous liquidity. Actually, it kind of reacted to this demand zone instead. Should have seen that actually. That would have been a nice trade. Yeah, I was going to say next idea would be if these previous lows can go. Yeah, cool. So we've seen previous lows go. We've seen a change of character. Entry on this one would be on this whole imbalance here. Right, let's see if this area holds. Nope, price is coming lower. Fast forward Asia. Alright, we're seeing a deeper retracement here. Maybe, let me just refresh this screen. Kind of had this area. The price is just tapped into. Nope, so it looks like price wants to come a bit lower now. Yeah, so like I said previously, this would be the next POI. We've had these previous lows swept. This was the extreme demand as well. So could definitely see a reaction out of here. Yeah, so we've already seen a change of character plus an imbalanced demand. This is a valid trade. I'm going to set my limit. I want to have stops a bit below. Yeah, there we go. Perfect trade there. I liked this one as well once I saw price build some liquidity above that demand. as you guys can see right there. I think this is a great place to end the session though, guys. So before we do that, let's have a look at how it's going so far in terms of the analytics. So we took 15 trades with a 53% win rate and 1-3 risk to reward. So pretty decent. Not as good as on the 2023 price action, but that was kind of understandable because we had that, you know, very messy and choppy price action towards the start of the year. So yeah, very good results. I won't go through all of them. You guys can go through these in your own time if you want. If you want to just slow the screen down right here. But yeah, guys, that concludes today's backtesting session. If you want to see me backtest the same strategy, I recently did a whole series where I backtested gold over the 2025 price action and I did a whole year's worth of data. So if you want to watch that next, I'll pop the playlist up